It's late. You don't have to do anything now. Wherever you are, however the day went, you can set it down. It will keep until morning without you. Let your eyes close. Let your shoulders come down from wherever they've been holding. Breathe in slowly and let it go. Good. Now feel the air change. It's warmer here. There's salt in it, and under the salt something older. Wet stone, wood smoke, the green smell of a harbor. We've gone a long way back tonight. More than 2,000 years, to a coast at the edge of Egypt, on a night when most of the world is already asleep, and the rest is only a few small lights on dark water. We're coming in from the sea. You can hear it, that long, slow breathing against the hull, the creak of timber. A sail somewhere above us moving in the wind, and then going still. No one on this ship knows we're aboard. No one anywhere knows we're here. We've only come to look, and before the sky goes pale, we'll go again. So there's nothing to do but drift and watch, and let the night carry you. Ahead, low on the black horizon, there's a light. Just one. It doesn't flicker like a star. It holds steady, and it grows. And as we come closer, you begin to understand how far away it must have been to look so small, because it isn't small at all. It's a fire on top of a tower of pale stone, the tallest thing that human hands have built anywhere in the world, and it has been burning all night long to bring ships like ours home. Let's go toward it. The tower rises out of the sea on a low island, and the closer we drift, the more impossible it seems. It climbs in 3 great tiers. The bottom is a square of cut stone, broad as a fortress, its walls rising straight and sheer. Above that, a second tier, 8-sided, narrower, set back from the first, and above that, a third, round now, a column of stone reaching up into the dark, and at the very top, open to the wind on every side, the fire. It stands as tall as a mountain made by men, more than 100 times the height of the man who tends it, and the people who built it are already, on this night, long dead. Their grandchildren are old. The tower has simply become part of the world, the way a mountain is, as though it had always been here. They call the island Pharos, and they have given that name to the tower, too. And one day, though no one standing here tonight could know it, that single word, Pharos, will travel into languages not yet invented, and become the word for lighthouse itself, in country after country, for thousands of years. A word born on this rock, on a night like this one, from this one fire over the sea. Let's go up. Near the top, in the open chamber where the fire burns, there is one old man. He is wrapped against the wind in a heavy cloak, and the firelight moves on his face, which is lined and brown and perfectly calm. He has been awake all night, and he is not tired in the way that frightens, not the tiredness that wants the night to end. He is tired in the older, gentler way, the way of someone who has done a thing so many thousands of times that his hands no longer need his mind to do it. This is simply his hour. The world has handed him the night, and he keeps it, and he does not complain. The fire is the smallest part of his work. The harder part stands just beside it, a great curved sheet of bronze, polished until it glows, taller than he is. All through the night he turns it, a little at a time, so that the light of the fire is gathered and thrown out across the water in a long, bright road, out past the harbor, past the breakwater, far out to ships that may still be a full day from land. A small fire, caught in a mirror and made into a star. Sailors 100 miles out at sea, in the worst of the dark, look for this one light and know which way the world is. The old man sets another piece of wood at the edge of the flame. Sparks lift, turn gold, and vanish up into the dark above us. The roar of the fire deepens for a moment, then settles. He watches it the way you would watch the breathing of someone you love who is sleeping. For the small change that means now, and the long stretch that means not yet, be still, let it be. Below us, the fuel comes up. There is a ramp inside the tower, a long spiral climbing all the way from the base, and all through the night, in the dark of that shaft. Animals and men carry wood up, load by load, and stack it where the keeper can reach. He never sees most of them. He only finds the wood there when he needs it, as if the tower itself were feeding the fire. He has tended this flame through storms that bent it flat, and through nights so still the smoke went straight up like a column, holding up the stars. Tonight is a still night. The star holds. Let's leave him to it. He won't miss us. And there's a whole city behind him, asleep across the water that we've come a long way to see. Between the lighthouse island and the mainland, the sea is divided in two. Long ago, when the city was young, they built a causeway out across the water, a great mole of stone, nearly a mile long, joining the island to the shore. 7 stadia long, the Greeks measured it, and so they called it the Heptastadion, the 7-furlong bridge. And by laying that one line of stone across the bay, they did something clever. They split the harbor into two. On one side, the great harbor, where the royal ships ride. On the other, the harbor of Happy Return, opening toward the west and the lake beyond. 2 safe waters, where before there had been only open coast. So much of what people build is like that. A single wall, a single road that quietly divides the world into a before and an after, and is then forgotten and becomes just the shape of things. The harbors are full tonight, though almost no one is awake on the water. Ships ride at anchor in long rows. Their masts are dark forest against the lights of the shore, rocking just slightly, the way moored ships do, as if breathing in their sleep. We can drift between them. Listen, the small sounds carry over still water at night. A rope groaning, water slapping a hull, somewhere a man coughing once and going quiet, a dog on the docks barking at nothing and then thinking better of it. These are not small ships. Many of them are grain ships, broad and deep in the belly, and they have come for the one thing that makes this city matter to the whole world: wheat. Egypt is the breadbasket of the age. The black soil along the great river grows more grain than its people can eat, and the surplus comes down the river to Alexandria, and from Alexandria it sails out across the whole sea to feed cities the farmers will never see. A loaf of bread in a faraway port began as a green stalk in a field 1,000 miles up a river, carried here, stored here, loaded here in the dark by men who are sleeping now in those hulls, waiting for a morning wind. There is something steadying in that. The whole vast machine of it, the river, the fields, the ships, the distant hungry cities, and tonight all of it simply at rest, rocking gently in 2 quiet harbors, waiting for the light. Let's go ashore. The waterfront, even now, is not entirely asleep. There are watchmen with small fires. There are a few late lamps burning in the windows of warehouses where someone is counting something, or guarding something, or simply cannot sleep. The smell here is strong and not unpleasant, tar and rope and fish and the sea, and under it the smoke of 1,000 banked household fires, and somewhere, faintly, bread, because even at this hour someone somewhere is already baking for the morning. There is a custom in this harbor that I have always loved. When a ship comes into Alexandria, the officers of the city go aboard, not only to look for cargo to tax, but to look for books. Any scroll found on any ship is carried up to the great library of the city, and there it is copied carefully by hand. And then this is the part. The copy is returned to the ship's owner, and the original is kept. The city keeps the true thing and gives back the likeness. They are so hungry for the written word here, so determined to gather every line ever written into one place, that they will quietly rob every sailor in the Mediterranean of his books and call it a fair exchange. Because that is the dream of this city. Not just grain, not just gold, all knowledge. everything anyone has ever written down, gathered under one roof in one place for the first time in the history of the world. And the building where they keep it is just up there, past the waterfront, in the royal quarter where the lamps are still burning. Let's go and find it. We come up off the harbour into the streets, and the first thing you notice is that they are straight. That sounds like nothing, but you have to understand. Cities in this age mostly grow the way moss grows, in tangles, lane folding into lane. No plan, no reason, just centuries of people building against whatever was already there. Alexandria is not like that. Alexandria was drawn before it was built. When the city was founded, its lines were laid out all at once, on a grid, wide, straight avenues crossing each other at clean right angles, so that the sea wind could blow straight down them and cool the whole city on summer nights. A planned city, a drawn city, one of the first the world had ever seen at this scale. The greatest of its streets runs the whole length of the city, from the gate of the sun in the east to the gate of the moon in the west. A broad avenue wide enough for chariots to pass each other many times over, lined with columns, running arrow straight for miles. The Canopic Way, they call it. By day, it is a river of people from every nation under heaven. Tonight it is empty and silent and ours, and the moon lays it out before us in pale stone and long shadow, straight as a drawn line, all the way to the far gate. Let's walk a while. There's no hurry. There's never any hurry here with you at night. The man who drew this city never saw it finished. He never saw it at all, really, not standing, not full of people, not the wonder it became. He came here as a young conqueror, the most famous young man in the history of the world, chose this spot between the sea and the lake, traced out the line of the walls. The story goes that they had no chalk to mark the ground, so they marked it with barley meal, with grain, and the birds came down and ate the lines. And the seers said it meant the city would feed the whole world, which, as we've seen down at the harbour, turned out to be true. He traced the lines, and then he left, and went east to conquer more of the world, and died far away, young, with the city still only a drawing in the dust. He never came back alive. But he did come back, and that's a place we'll go tonight, before the end, because they brought him here after, and laid him in the heart of the city he drew and never saw. He's here. He's sleeping here too, somewhere ahead of us in the dark, as he has slept for 100 years and will sleep for centuries more. But not yet. First, the library. Here it is. It doesn't look like much from the street at night. A long, low range of buildings in the royal quarter, columns and quiet courtyards, a few lamps burning behind high windows. There is no great sign, no monument out front. The wonder of this place is not in how it looks. It's in what it holds. This is the Library of Alexandria, and joined to it, part of the same dream, is the Mauseon, the House of the Muses, the place we will one day borrow a word from and call a museum, though it is nothing like the quiet halls that word will come to mean. The Mauseon is alive. It is a house where scholars are simply kept, fed, housed, paid, freed from every worry of ordinary life, and asked to do one thing, think. Gather here, the king said. Read everything. Argue with each other. Measure the world. Find out what is true. We will pay for all of it. Just find out. And they came. From every shore of the sea they came, the most curious minds of the age, to live in this one place and read in this one library, because nowhere else on earth were so many books gathered in one room. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls. No one is quite sure of the number, and the number grows every time a ship comes into the harbour. Rolls of papyrus, the reed paper of this river, each one wound on its rod, each one labelled with a little tag hanging from its end, stacked in their pigeonholes from floor to ceiling, room after room after room. Walk in with me. The night lamps are low. There is a smell I want you to notice. Dry papyrus, cedar oil, the dust of old reed paper, a little smoke. It is the smell of every library that will ever exist, already here, 2,000 years early. The smell of kept words. So many words. Think of it. Every play the Greeks ever wrote, gathered here. Every poem. The works of men whose names will survive, only because a copy sat on a shelf in this room on a night like this one. And the works of 10 times as many men whose names will not survive, because their one scroll was the one that crumbled or burned or was simply never copied again. Everything humanity knew, or thought it knew about the stars, the body, the land, the gods, the past, wound onto reeds and stacked in the dark, here in this building by the sea, while the city sleeps around it. There was a man whose whole task was to make sense of it all, to walk these rooms and ask, of every single scroll, what is this, and who wrote it, and is it true that he wrote it, and where does it belong? He made a catalogue, a list of all the books and their authors, and what was known of them, a map of human knowledge, so that a thing could be found again once it was kept. We take that for granted now. The idea that a library is ordered, that you can find one thought among hundreds of thousands. Someone had to think of it first. Someone had to do it first, by lamplight, scroll by scroll, in these rooms. Let's sit a moment among the shelves. Feel how quiet it is. All these voices, and not one of them speaking. Every argument, every song, every discovery, every grief set down in words, all of it here, all of it silent, all of it patient, waiting for morning and a reader. There is nowhere in the world, on this night, with more held inside it and less sound coming out. Let me tell you about one of the men who walked these halls. Of all the things that happened in this library, this is the one I think of most on quiet nights. He was the chief librarian, in his day, the keeper of all these scrolls. He was the sort of man who is curious about absolutely everything, good at many things. And so, his rivals said unkindly, never quite the best at any one of them. They gave him a nickname that was meant to wound. They called him Beta, the second letter, the one that is never first. He seems not to have minded. A man who wants to know everything cannot afford to be too proud about being second at each thing. And here is what this second-rate man did, with nothing but a stick, a shadow, and his mind. He had read, somewhere in this library, perhaps in a scroll taken off a ship, copied by a tired scribe, that far to the south, in a town up the river, on a single day at noon in midsummer, the sun stood directly overhead, so directly that its light reached all the way down to the bottom of a deep well, and a standing pole cast no shadow at all. The sun, that one day, that one place, was straight up. Now here in Alexandria, far to the north of that town, on that same day, at that same noon, a standing pole does cast a shadow. A short one, but real. He measured it. He measured the angle of it, the lean of the sun away from straight overhead, with great care. And he thought, if the world were flat, the sun would lean the same everywhere at once. The fact that it leans here, and not there, on the very same day, at the very same hour, that can only mean the ground itself is curved between the two places. The world is round. He didn't guess it. The shadow told him. And then he went further, and this is the part that I find almost unbearably beautiful. He knew, more or less, how far it was from here to that southern town. Merchants and royal surveyors had paced it out. He had the angle of the shadow, and the angle of the shadow was a slice of the whole circle of the world. So he did the arithmetic. A slice this size at this distance means a whole circle that size, and he calculated how big around the entire earth must be. A man sitting in this building, by this sea, who had never gone to the moon, never left the ground, never seen the curve of the world with his own eyes, measured the size of the whole planet with a stick, a shadow, and the distance to a town up the river. And he got it nearly right. So close to right that when, 2,000 years from now, people finally sail and fly and float all the way around it to check, they will find that the second-rate librarian, the man they called Beta, had measured their entire world while sitting still and missed by almost nothing. That happened here, in these rooms, maybe in the one we are sitting in. The shadow that told him fell across stones not far from where we are, on an afternoon as ordinary as any other, while down at the harbour the grain ships came and went, and almost no one noticed that a man with a stick had just taken the measure of the earth. The lamp gutters. Let it. We can sit in the dark a while. There are worse places to be still than a room that holds everything anyone has ever learned, beside a man, long gone, who learned more than almost anyone from a shadow. Other minds passed through these same rooms. Let me name a few softly, the way you'd point out lights in the dark. There was a man who taught the rules of shapes and lines, of points and angles, and the perfect, bloodless truths of geometry, and wrote them down so clearly, in such a careful chain of one proven thing leading to the next, that his book would be used to teach children and kings and shipbuilders for more than 2,000 years, longer than almost any book ever written, but the holy ones. The story goes that a king, impatient, asked him whether there wasn't some quicker, easier way to learn all this than slogging through the whole long chain of proofs. And the teacher told the king, gently, that there was no royal road to geometry, no shortcut, not even for a king. The truth has to be walked to, step by step, the same for everyone. The powerful do not get there faster. I have always thought that was a brave thing to say to a king, and a true one. And there was a man here who looked up at the same night sky we can see if we step to the window, and dared to think a thought so strange that almost no one believed him for nearly 2,000 years. Everyone knew in this age that the earth stood still at the center of everything, and the sun and stars wheeled around it. You can feel that it's true. The ground doesn't move, and the sun plainly crosses the sky. But this one man worked it through and concluded the opposite, that the earth is not the center at all, that the earth itself is moving, that it spins, and that it swings around the sun, and that the sun stands still while we race around it, and that the reason the stars don't seem to shift as we move is only that they are unimaginably, dizzyingly far away. He was right. He was right here in this city, 2,000 years before the world would agree with him. And then the scroll with his reasoning was copied, and copied again, and most copies crumbled, and his right answer slipped into the dark for 20 centuries before another man, in a colder country, worked it out again and finally made it stick. Think of that. The truth found, written down in this library, and then simply lost, like a coin dropped in deep water, glinting once and gone, waiting almost 2,000 years to be found again. That's the thing about this place, the thing that sits under all its glory like the sea under the harbor. So much was known here, and so much of it was lost, not because it was wrong, because the world is fragile and reed paper burns, and copies are not always made in time, and even the greatest library that has ever stood is, in the end, only a building full of dried plants and ink beside a sea in the dark. But don't carry that thought heavily. Not tonight. Tonight the library still stands, whole and quiet, every scroll in its place, the lamps still burning low, the second-rate man's measurement of the world still safe on its shelf. Tonight nothing is lost yet. Let it be whole a while longer. Let's leave it standing and step back out into the street. It's the deep middle of the night now, the hour when even the watchmen drowse. The canopic way runs empty and silver before us, and the side streets fall away into pools of dark, and the whole great planned city lies around us breathing slow. What a strange and wonderful crowd is sleeping behind these walls. This is perhaps the most mixed city in the entire world in this age. Greeks who run the kingdom and write the books, Egyptians whose ancestors built things older than the Greeks can imagine, who farm the black soil and work the harbor and remember gods that were old when Greece was young. A great community of Jews, so many and so long settled here that their holy books have been translated into Greek in this very city. The story says by 70 scholars, working separately, who all arrived at the very same words, though that is the kind of story a city tells about itself, and we can let it be lovely without weighing whether it's exact. Sailors from every port, merchants from beyond the deserts and beyond the seas, soldiers, scribes, priests, slaves, dancers, dock workers, astronomers, all of them tonight asleep behind these straight pale walls under this same moon. A city is such an unlikely thing when you stand in it at night like this and really feel it. All these thousands of people, strangers to one another, speaking different tongues, praying to different gods, who have somehow agreed, without ever quite saying so, to live pressed up against each other in peace, to let the straight streets carry them past one another by day, and to lie down at night, trusting that the others will mostly let them sleep. It works. Most nights, in most cities, for most people, it simply works. This enormous, fragile agreement, and no one even notices it working. They just sleep. Listen. A baby somewhere fussing, and then soothed, and then quiet. A cart far off, going somewhere in the dark on some errand that couldn't wait for dawn, its wheels fading. The sea always, underneath everything, against the breakwater, and that low, steady sound at the edge of hearing that you've stopped noticing. That's the fire on the lighthouse, still burning, still throwing its road of light out across the water, while the old man tends it, and the city sleeps, and the night turns slowly over all of it. We've stood a long while. Let's keep walking, gently. There's one more place I want to bring you before the sky starts to change. The heart of the city, the tomb. But the sky, when I look east, is not quite black anymore, just the faintest grey at the rim of the sea, the colour the water goes before there's any sun in it. That's the old keeper's signal, out on his tower, to let the great fire burn down toward morning. And it's ours, too. We were never meant to see the dawn here. The morning belongs to them, to the city, and the grain ships, and the scholars waking to their scrolls, and the keeper climbing down his long stair to sleep at last. So let it go soft now. The lighthouse, and the two still harbors, and the straight silver streets, and the room full of everything anyone ever knew. Let all of it drift back into the dark where we found it, 2,000 years deep. Sleep now. The city is kept. The fire is tended. Nothing here needs you tonight. And I'll find another night, somewhere else in the long dark of the world. And I'll come